Hello everyone, today we are going to present our presentation on strategic management in hospitality. We are going to present Andaz Amsterdam with Judy, Jason, Gloria and me. Here is our table of content. We are going to introduce our mother company and subsidiary that we choose, and we are, according to our subsidiary, we're going to do the PESTEL analysis, portfolio forces, SWOT analysis, and give them in the end conclusion and recommendation. This all overview we can see in our presentation moving forward. Moving forward to our mother company of our business. So there is, we choose the Hyatt. This is one of the leading hospitality brand in the world, and they run more than like 925 hotels and restaurants in the world. They are owning a luxurious hotel, budget hotels, and also resorts as well as. And Hyatt have like one of the operator who are much more in the luxurious hotels as well as.
Thank you very much, Mit, for the introduction of our mother company. Now moving on to the subsidiaries. Hyatt Corporation has a total of 18 brands all over the world. As for this research, we've decided to analyze in specific the brand Andaz, which is a boutique-inspired brand and is spread across 4 countries in the world. The name of the brand Andaz comes from an Hindi word which means personal style, and this is because the organization wanted to emphasize the personal experience that every guest could get coming into the properties, and also every single properties of the Andaz brand is located in unique locations, and they act as a social anchor for the communities. So every property has inside some element of the local communities. This to provide the guest with a truly unique experience, and to allow them to have an immersive stay in the property and to enjoy the local communities as well. So in the specific, we have decided to analyze Andaz Prinsengracht, located in Amsterdam. This property was opened in 2012, and it was the first ever owned Hyatt property in the Netherlands, which acted as a huge anchor point for the organization. Now I will give a brief introduction about the location and some unique features, and then we can move on into the analysis of the microenvironment of the business. Andaz Prinsengracht was the former public library of Amsterdam, located in the city center of Amsterdam, which makes it a very attractive location for guests coming from all over the world. It is located in front of the Canal of Prince, which is a UNESCO Worldwide Heritage. Also makes it more attractive for guests. It is included in a very rich and diverse cultural neighborhood, surrounded by art galleries, restaurants, boutique shops. So this is a sentence that the general manager of Andaz Prinsengracht said a few years ago, which is the hotel is vibrant yet relaxed, and it reflects the contagious spirit of the neighborhood. So the interior of the properties was designed by a Dutch interior designer, Marcel Wanders, which try to include in every single space of the property some elements of the local community. For example, as we can see in the top right picture, the fish on the wallpaper reconnect to the Canal of Prince, and also the small details of the 3 red X's on the fish reconnect with the red district of Amsterdam. Moving on to some other unique features, this is the auditorium and the spa of the business. So as I mentioned before, every space and every element try to include some aspects of the Dutch history and some element of the local culture. Now, Jason will provide an explanation of the vision and mission of the company, and then we can move on into the analysis of the external forces of the business.
Okay, thank you, Judy. So now we're going to present about the vision and the mission of the Hotel Amsterdam. So the vision of the Hotel Amsterdam is to create a stage, motivating and creative mind to come together, play and work. And also for the mission of the Hotel Andaz, they're about providing the highly personalized service in the atmosphere that authentically embrace the best of Amsterdam. So now we're going to talk about the aim and objective of the presentation. So the aim of the presentation is to critically evaluate and identify the different activities and strategy approach that Hotel Amsterdam embark. So also in this presentation, we're going to analyze the external and internal environment with using different method, like using different analysis method like PESTEL and Patel 5 forces and also SWOT. At the last of the presentation, we're going to discuss about the conclusion and also provide some recommendation in the presentation. Move on to the PESTEL analysis. So we divided to 3 parts. The first part we will discuss about the different factors like political, economic, social, technological, and environmental, and also the legal factors. And also for the second part, we will discuss about the key drivers. So we will set up 2 critical factors from the presentation. And also at last, we will bring out the best scenarios of Hotel Andaz.
So the first political factor influencing our business is the tourist tax. The government of Netherlands last year decided to increase even more Amsterdam tourist tax up to 7%, which makes it the highest tourist tax in Europe. This political factor influenced negatively our business. Therefore, Andaz Prinsengracht is offering a 10% discount to every single guest that has a membership rate to compensate with this regulation. And moreover, kids under the age of 3 years old can stay for free in Andaz Prinsengracht, and on request, infant beds can be provided for free to any guest. Another political factor that influences our business is the Treaty of Amsterdam, which is an agreement between the European Union and Amsterdam citizens, including legislation on employment rights, data collection, privacy, immigration. And to comply with this law, the Andaz organization stated in its annual report that the business embrace all culture, races, ethnicity, gender, and ways of thinking to provide everybody the same opportunities and not discriminate anyone. And moreover, thanks to this treaty, Hyatt Corporation was able to collect personal information of guests coming from all over Europe, and this is a huge advantage for any hospitality organization. So the business is now able to collect personal details of guests and is able to provide even more unique and personalized experience when the guests will come back to their premises.
Thank you, Judy. So in this slide, I'm going to talk about the economic factor affecting in Netherlands. According to Netherlands Times, they are facing the economic recession in the last 100 years. The current situation of pandemic, Netherlands economic is again forced to shut down. Therefore, actions are required to deal with the situation. The first is the situation negatively affect the gantry and also our brand. So therefore, Hyatt had to let go of its own employee around 1,300 because there is no job, and immediate action was required to save the brand. Second is it became necessary for the guests to wear masks, and hygiene standards are now updated and followed in a Hyatt hotels to generate a high occupancy, which will bring more revenue. Finally, due to the dire situation, Andaz Amsterdam Prinsengracht has been forced to operate partially due to travel restrictions, such as closing down the restaurant, bars, and other services. In the second slide, it is about gross domestic product of Netherlands. According to Statistics.com, it has declined by 5% in October 2020 because of COVID-19. There is no doubt Hyatt is affected, so in order to counter it, Hyatt offer the 20% for our services just to encourage the guests to book the rooms and also to provide additional granting. The company allows the customer to cancel booking or notify reservation with no extra cost.
Now I'm going to talk about social factor of Andaz Amsterdam, and moving forward to the culture aspect, that Amsterdam have very good art in their DNA. So in this art kind of culture, there's Andaz take it as an opportunity to showcase it to the world, and they can present a good art collection videos in their hotel. It's one of a kind in the world. Also, they are taking the vibes from this Amsterdam art culture, and they use this in their designing of the property in the lobby or in the room and everywhere, and they can provide their contribution to the social culture. Okay, so moving forward to the another social factor, that the Amsterdam people are more focused on healthy options in their life. They are much more enthusiastic to the health. So regarding this, taking Andaz the opportunity, and they provide a good healthy meals in the restaurants. Also, they take care of the guest diet as well as, and they provide good drinks regarding to this health culture. Also, as well as they are providing the 24-hour gyms to the guests, so they can do the exercise and they can make themselves fit in this way.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the technology factors. So for the unrivaled technology infrastructure from the Netherlands, they provide a plenty of knowledge and resource that assist the companies to develop an essentially system. And also, as we mentioned inside the presentation, understand their needs no matter what language they speak. So Hotel Andaz, to deal with this problem, they engage a Google Assistant in interpreter mode. So Google Assistant can recognize most of the language in the world. So with using the Google Assistant, the guests can just talk to the Google Assistant and get the feedback immediately. So it can avoid the communication problem inside the hotel. We're going to move on to the next technological factors. So as we mentioned, Amsterdam has always been a hub for tech. So for the benefit of the technology, Hotel Andaz can provide the virtual reality technology to the guests, also the staff. So they can simulate different situation, and it can provide some experience to the guests and also the experience for the staff as well. So also Hyatt, they got a worldwide training system, a course training module that's provided from the Hyatt. I think this worldwide, as I mentioned, is a worldwide system. So they deploy this module in every single hotel, so it can ensure the quality of staff and also the quality of the properties.
Thank you, Jason. Now I'm going to talk about environmental factor, that you know as well as that Netherlands is biggest exporter in the world to export fruit and vegetable to the all around the world countries, as well as they are very much sustainable in the way to production their farming. So they use less chemicals in this production, so they are more in the bio products. Also, this kind of a sustainable culture, then the Andaz adopt this culture, and their restaurant already always order the fruits and vegetables from all the ingredients from the local farmers to support them as well as, and gain a good quality of products in this hotel to provide a guest. As well as the chef have their hotel garden in the back, so they can take some ingredients to hand pick by them using in this cuisine. Here is another environmental factor, that Amsterdam practicing recycle and reducing plastic waste. Due to this, Andaz Amsterdam take this in their body, and they are one of the sustainable awarded hotel. Also, due to reducing plastic waste, they are, instead of using plastic bottle, they set up the fountains around the property, so guests can directly use these things and they can contribute themselves to this reducing plastic waste. As well as they are doing the food waste reducing practices in their property with employees and guests as well as, so they can support this environmental and Hyatt project called food waste prevention system.
Thank you very much, Mit. Now moving on into the legal factor. One of the legal factors that influence our business is the Dutch discrimination law. So the government of Netherlands state that everybody is entitled to equal treatment. And so to comply with this regulation, Andaz corporation state in its annual report that the organization embrace diversity and support the inclusion of every employee. And also they state that respect is one of the company values, so everybody is feeling welcoming and accepted into the organization. And finally, the 25% of all of employees working for Hired are represented by a labor union to provide everybody with the same rights and equal treatment. Another legal factor influencing our business is the European competition law. So the European Union promotes regulation of anti-competitive conduct to avoid the creation of cartels and monopolies. And to comply with this law, Hyatt Corporation state in its annual report that the brand compete fairly by providing the guest the best experience. And moreover, every food price and drink prices and room rates are stated in the website of Andaz Prinsengracht to comply with this law and also to provide more transparency.
Okay, thank you, Judy. So now we will discuss about the key drivers. So in conclude, we select two different factors, which is technology and also the Treaty of Amsterdam. We think these are the two important and critical reasons and factors that which affect the Hotel Amsterdam. Based on the key driver that we chosen, we develop different scenarios. So you can saw the first scenarios is they engage a high technology, but there's poor of Treaty of Amsterdam. And also the second scenario, they didn't engage high technology. Also, they don't have the Treaty of Amsterdam also. And the third scenario, they both engage a high technology and also they have a high well data grant. And the last scenario, they have a grant data of well data grant, but they have low technology engaged. So in conclude, we think the scenario 3 is the best scenario for hotel and this Amsterdam, because due to they provide engage a high technology and also the well data grant, they can deliver a service and products accurately, and also the quality is ensured by reliable trading system as well. And they also can have a cost effectively. At last, they will enhance the hotel reputation and bring more benefit and profit to the hotel. Okay, now we finished the PESTEL analyze with bring out the different scenarios and also the key drivers. And so now we're going to move on to the next section, which is Patel's 5 forces. So in this analyze method, we're going to use different vectors. The first one is the threat of new entrants, and the second, the threat of substitutes, and the third one is the power of buyers, and then is the power of suppliers, and the last, we will bring out the competitive rivalry. So now we're going to move on. I will pass the next slide to my next colleague.
Thank you, Jason. Now, moving on into the threat of new entrants, we've identified this threat to be as a low one because in the Netherlands, to open a hotel, a bar or a restaurant, there are many rules and regulations asked by the government before anyone can actually proceed with the opening. And moreover, in 2017, the government of Netherlands banned any new hotels opening into the city center of Amsterdam to preserve the historic side of the location. To prevent the low threats of new entrants, Andaz Prinsengracht collaborated with Valar, which is a company that works with influencers. And this collaboration was made with the intent of creating unique content for guests and high-catching materials to be able to attract more guests. Also, thanks to the short-term letting law provided by the government of Netherlands, the business is protected by the entrance of, for example, new entrants such as Airbnb, because the government does not allow any owners of properties to rent out their properties for more than 30 days consecutively in the Netherlands, and this prevents even more the threat of new entrants for our business. Moreover, the emphasis that the business gives to the local community and to the experience of the local community attracts guests that would have been attracted by the Airbnb concept. Finally, Andaz Prinsengracht promotes a movement called Andaz, which is basically a movement that allows guests to take pictures of the property, post it on their social media with the hashtag, and once they've done this, the property will give them special benefits. All of this to increase and make even stronger the brand image of the Andaz. Moving on to the threat of substitute, so the threat of any new business that could act as a substitute for Andaz Prinsengracht. We've identified this threat to be a low one as well, because, as I mentioned before, the increase of the tourist tax by the government of Netherlands will reduce significantly the number of hostel and cheaper hotels than ours in the city center of Amsterdam. And also the Amsterdam Council explained that he only wants rich tourists in the future. And so this limits the threat of substitutes. To prevent this low threat, Andaz Prinsengracht collaborated with the interior designer Marcel Wenders to have an even more unique features. And also the element that Andaz Prinsengracht has of the local culture in the interior design provide an experience that guests could not have in any other tourist hotel. Being the former public library of Amsterdam, the business has a very unique and recognized location that no other hotel could achieve in Amsterdam. And finally, as I mentioned before, the short-term letting law provide regulation and limitation for businesses that could substitute Andaz Prinsengracht, such as Airbnb.
So thank you, Judy. Now I'm going to talk about power of buyers. So power of buyer is very high in our property because buyer have multiple choice in Amsterdam, so they can choose another property as well as, and they have very high demands and needs that Andaz Amsterdam need to be fulfilled. So due to this, they have a loyalty program and they support it with Hyatt. They give a 10% discount whoever sign up in this program. Also, the existing member get exclusive service and stuff from the property. Also, it include that whoever stays in 5 different properties of Hyatt, they can get one night stay in any another Hyatt property, and Andaz is one of the part of this program. Also, and due to attracting buyer, Andaz Amsterdam provide a personalized service to them, so they can support more, they attract more buyers.
Okay, so now we're going to discuss about the power of suppliers. The power of suppliers in Hotel Amsterdam is low due to the multiple suppliers built by efficient supply chain, and also the experience different product design with different materials in case the cost of the new materials rise or the materials changes, so they can just switch to another supplier instead of increase the cost. So now we're going to discuss about the barriers. The first barrier is the backward vertical integration. And this Prinsengracht does not only rely on external suppliers, but they have their own herb garden, so they don't need to rely only just the external supplier, but also themselves. And also the second one, they access to extensive supplier channel, so Hyatt collaborate with Efestra, WWF, and beer companies on the supply chain as well. For the third one, the supplier diversity program. So Hyatt contract with CVM Solutions, and a company that provides suppliers relationship management tools to manage the location, the registration, also the qualification of the supplier, so it can ensure the quality and the supply chain. Okay, so for the last one, we're gonna it's about the circular economic. So how reduce demand of virgin materials by reducing disposable, improving recycling, and identifying the alternatives that provide better support recirculation.
In the Porter's 5 forces of competitive rivalry, Andaz Amsterdam Prinsengracht has high rivalry because high corporations operate in the hospital industry, which is very competitive environment where there are many types of accommodations holiday all around the world, especially the trust from the new entrants from Starwood and Marriott. They entered the Dutch industry in 2015 as a direct competitor for Andaz, which is increased the rivalry of the competition. Andaz Amsterdam Prinsengracht is protecting its image by having well-established international brand, so everyone recognize the heritage logo and increase word of mouth. Secondly, Andaz has unique location, which is in the center of Amsterdam, near all attraction in the city. They also have high customer loyalty to ensure the customer will go to other brands. And finally, they have product positioning awarded from Green Global from being environmentally sustainable. The conclusion of Porter 5 forces is following. The threat of new entrants is low. The threat of substitute is low. Power of buyer is high. Power of supplier is low. The competitive rivalry is high. According to what we said for Porter 5 forces analysis, we established Andaz Prinsengracht is attractive for investor because it is the world's recognized brand. It has unique design and philosophy. It has strong organizational culture, low trust of new entrants and substitute, and low supplier power, which made it very attractive business for investor.
Okay, so that was the end of Porter's 5 forces analysis. Now we will move into the external environment of the business by conducting a SWOT analysis. We will identify the strengths and the weaknesses of the business and also some opportunities and threats coming from the external environment. Now let's talk about the strengths of our business. The first one being the location. As I mentioned before, the hotel is located in front of the UNESCO Worldwide Heritage Canal of Prince, which makes it a very strong competitive advantage for the business. Secondly, the interior design being developed by Marcel vendors provide a unique local experience for the guest and also another strong competitive advantage. The hotel was awarded by TripAdvisor for being the choice of the best and also for being the fifth top luxury hotel in the Netherlands. The bar and the restaurant of the Andaz Prinsengracht were awarded with the Alice in Wonderland award, which makes it very attractive business for not only international guests but also for locals, as the restaurant and bars provide local cuisine and international dishes with a Dutch twist. Also, the experience provided by the guest, this local experience that we were talking about, provide another huge strength for the business. And finally, the business provide valet service for the guests for an extra cost, and also they provide free bikes to any guest that would like to have a tour of the city and really live the immersive stay of Amsterdam.
Thank you, Julie. Now I'm going to talk about Andaz Amsterdam's weaknesses. They have 4 major weaknesses. First, we go with accessibility, that they are locating in a one-way street, so they can't. This is very difficult to arrive to the hotel property. Second one is ventilation. Although this interior is very good and they are showcasing the Andaz Amsterdam art, but unfortunately windows cannot be open in the room, so ventilation is a little bit tough. Third one is a facility. They are very good, well designed hotel, but unfortunately the bathroom doors are not there, so this little bit privacy issue regarding a different guest. And the fourth one is the parking. They're providing valid parking, but it's very expensive and not sufficient space.
So now we will move on to the opportunities of SWOT. The first point, the cultural capital. So Amsterdam retain unique world-class cultures and also the construction, which attract foreign from worldwide. So one of the example is the historical canal, which next to the Hotel Andaz. So for the next point, the gateway to Europe. So Amsterdam has been voted one of the best connection, which easily accessibly with the rail and road. And in addition, Amsterdam Airport is the most essential airport in this world. So that's why there's the opportunities. And also the third one, the preset of the United Kingdom. So due to the current situation, the preset of UK, so the job seekers from all over Europe are actively avoiding moving to the UK, though fear of the unknown due to the ever more no deal Brexit. And also the last point, the embracing innovation. So as we discussed before, Amsterdam is the tech hub in the world. So that's why they attract so many investors to go to Amsterdam and make investment and innovation. So that's why Netherlands has ranked as the 4th best nation for the innovators.
The following are the threats that Andaz and Amsterdam Prinsengracht have and could have in the future. So, as we already mentioned, that entry of new competitor in the Amsterdam hotel market, such as Starwood, is a threat for the business because it's a direct competitor, and also a high tourist taxation demand by local authority could be a threat because it poses a limitation for the guests to visit Andaz in addition to the COVID-19 situation. Another threat is economic recession due to the coronavirus, which could bring a lockdown by government that negatively affect the business. Also, Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office advise the outsider and traveler the essential guidelines and travel regulation against the COVID-19 to avoid risks that could hinder the recovery of the economy in the future. And finally, the terrorist situation in the Netherlands still remains as a threat. Even COVID has made a large-scale invasion across the nation and worldwide. The jihadist movements stay active in a terror attack according to the government of Netherlands.
Okay, so at the end of the analyze, we finished all the analyze like the PESTEL, SWOT, and also the butterfly process. So I will bring out the key result of the analyze now. For the first one, the PESTEL, so we choose technologies and Treaty of Amsterdam, and also we choose the high engaged technology and the high data grant as our best scenario of Hotel Andaz Amsterdam. And the next part, due to the unique location and the design of the hotel, and also the award-winning hotel. At the last, the personalized local experience, which means they can bring different experience, individual experience to the guests. So in conclude, the business is attractive for the investment and the innovator. Now I'm going to present about how we understand by our findings and from the analyze. The first one is how the external environment can both have a negative and positive impact to Hotel Andaz Amsterdam, and also how the Andaz brand competitive have a huge advantages from other subsidiaries. And third one, the importance of the environment responsibility for every stakeholders, and the last one, and how they develop a successful strategy from from combine different strategy and combine different factors like SWOT, PESTEL, and also portfolio forces.
How do the results fit together? So first is the PESTEL analysis that showcases us external environment, how it affects the business and how they adopt in this property. Second one is the SWOT analysis, and they are showcasing the internal environment and weakness and strength, and opportunities and threats come from the external environment. Also, in the last, the both analysis combined, and thanks to the portfolio forces, we are concluded that it's a good investment for investor. Now we are moving forward to the implications, and due to this one big question that the property located on a single street road, and if there is a maintenance work happen or in case worst case scenario is road get damaged, then it's very hard to arrive in the hotel for the guest. So in a contingency plan, we thought that it's located near to the river, so collaborate with a blue boat company that's a service. They provide the service to the Amsterdam in every locations, and guests have very good opportunity to arrive with a boat into the property.
Thank you very much, Mit. Now let's move on into the problem and limitation that we as a group had during this research. The first limitation that we have is that Andaz is one of the 18th brand, 18th subsidiary of the world of hire, which makes it made it a bit difficult to find specific information about the brand. So in some cases we had to refer to the mother company. Second limitation was that none of us had direct experience with the brand Andaz, so we could only analyze the business from an external point of view. And finally, sometimes the overload of studies and homework combined with this subject caused a delay of homework and sometimes some problems with the time management. Before concluding our presentation and giving our recommendation to the business, we would like to provide some advice for future researches. With our group, we've come up with the idea that conducting a market research would be an even better way to understand the subsidiary that we chose. So factors such as the market segmentation, customer needs, their behavior patterns, or the insight into the existing customers could be factors that could provide even better understanding of the business, and could also help the students to identify how to retain a competitive advantage. Okay, so we've come to the end of our presentation. Before concluding the presentation, we would like to give the business some recommendation. The first thing we recommend to Andaz Prinsengracht is to analyze its external and internal environment in all effort to satisfy the key stakeholders. Secondly, we would like to recommend Andaz Prinsengracht to enhance its combination of brand image, market niche and differentiated product, to protect and maintain its competitive advantage and its competitive strategy. Finally, we would also like to recommend Andaz Prinsengracht to continue practicing social responsibility, because by taking care of the environment and also taking care of its employees and the social community, the business will be able to get even better profit, and all the organization will benefit from it. This was the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.